Welcome, Pewter Report readers, listeners, and viewers to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, Energized by Celsius. I'm John Ledyard from PewterReport.com. With me is Scott Reynolds, also from PewterReport.com, on a Victory Monday, Scott, to celebrate, sort of, and also analyze and talk about critically, which is what we do on this show, a Bucs victory, a 33-27 victory over the Buffalo Bills in overtime, which kind of gave a lot of ammo to both sides of this thing, right? We were watching that first half thinking, man, this Victory Monday podcast is going to be like the Bucs are the best team in the NFC. And then the second half happened and it was like, I don't know where this team ranks. And we're still here to talk about it. Where are the Bucs ranking in the NFC? That's one of the things we're going to talk about on today's show. But yesterday's game, it was hard to come out of that without just the total mix of emotions about where this team is at right now.
Yeah, it's a game to really at everything. 24-3 in the first half for the Bucs, 24-3 in the second half for the Bills. The yin, the yang, the left and the right. I mean, it was just it was a crazy thing. But in the end, it was the fifth quarter was the one that mattered the most. That was the one where all the Bucs ills got cured. They finally got off the field on defense, and they finally got their act together on offense. When it came to those two big third down conversions, including the biggest third down conversion of all, the touchdown pass from Tom Brady to Brashad Perriman. Who's that guy? Who's Brashad Perriman?
What? Has he played? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the snap count distributions today. We'll talk about a Bruce Arians decision that has been discussed amongst Bucs fans, and we'll give our thoughts about whether he made the right call or not. So there's lots to get to on today's show, obviously, as there always is on a Victory Monday or any Monday in season, because the content is flowing. And if you check it out over at PewterReport.com, you will see it is flowing over there as well. Yeah, there are stories all over the site there. Also, you know what else is flowing for us on a Monday? Celsius Energy drinks.
Oh my gosh.
You've needed this today, huh, Scott?
I did need this in the worst way. Yes.
Celsius Energy drinks power active lives every day with essential functional energy. I got the sparkling strawberry guava you can see up on the screen there. You got a bunch of different flavors with Celsius. The wild berry. Oh, what do you got? The orange?
Got the orange today.
Yeah, there you go. No sugar in these, and yet you get the energy that you need without the crash you get from other energy drinks. Celsius, really just a cheat code. Burns body fat, accelerates metabolism. They're terrific stuff. You can check them out at Celsius.com. You can use the store locator, find out where they are near you, or you can go to PewterReport.com. Click on those banner ads and get yourself some Celsius. Use the Amazon subscribe and save. Get some coming to you on the regular with the Amazon subscribe and save option. Also, Scott, I got to also mention, because they sustained me yesterday. When it's a 4:00 game, I don't usually eat that big of a meal for lunch. And then after it's so late, I don't usually eat a big meal after we're done with our shows and everything. So I just ate fast protein bars from Celsius yesterday, and the white chocolate cookies and cream and the caramel peanut crunch was what I had yesterday, and it was outstanding. 20 grams of protein, only 1 gram of sugar in these. I mean, it's great, terrific stuff from Celsius. These protein bars are truly the best that I've ever had. So make sure you check out Fast Protein Bars as well, especially if you're looking for a little extra protein in your life. They've been a game changer for myself and for my wife. We've loved them, and they've helped me cut off a few pounds. I'm about 7-8 pounds lighter. It could also be working in season. Yeah, but I'm about 7 or 8 pounds lighter.
The thing is, John, dare I say it's like healthy fast food. I mean, it is, right? I mean, it's fast food. The cool thing is you can also get those in Amazon too. So
right, for sure. Yeah, that's great stuff. Okay, let's jump into it, and let's talk about the injuries first of all that we got, because there's an injury report, a little bit today of an injury report from Bruce Arians, because he kind of updated us a little bit, and he said Jamel Dean they're still kind of evaluating what's going on there. It seems like, he's had what a weird season. I mean, he's been great when he's been on the field.
Shoulder.
It's 4 games this year has he gone out of with some type of injury, and last year there was 1 or 2 occasions like that as well. He just have a hard time, but he's not missed any big chunk of time in his career with anything, so it has been very interesting. He had a concussion last week, but Arians seemed really optimistic for a concussion on the day after the game, and it was kind of like, did he have a concussion? Obviously went through the protocol, but the way, Bruce has talked about a lot of concussions in the 2 years I've covered the Bucs. He's talked, and most of the time he starts by saying it's tough to get somebody through the protocol. But with Dean, it was all on right away. He should probably be available to play. And I was just like, whoa, this is a regular week. And so I'm not sure what went on there. but Dean was pretty quickly out of the protocol, and then now there was like fogginess, Arian said, in this game. He wasn't feeling well. Was it sick or was it concussion? Not really sure, but he is kind of in question, and they're kind of taking him through some processes and protocols right now. And then Giovanni Bernard, Tom Pelissero actually reporting that he's going to miss some time with an MCL sprain.
It looked like it, right? Injury, with him kind of walking ever so gingerly off the field and then getting carted off to the locker room. It's never good when you involve the cart.
Yeah, for sure. It really didn't look good for Giovanni Bernard. Would guess he's going to miss the rest of the regular season at least, and then we'll just have to see about potential for him to return for playoffs. We'll just have to see. I mean, I'm jumping to conclusions there. They haven't even put him on injured reserve yet, but it seems to me like that maybe that could be where we're headed. And he's with the $20 super chat hit pretty big on Underdog Fantasy. Just want to show my appreciation to P Report staff for putting me on Underdog, my bookie, Celsius. Absolutely, we appreciate that. Yeah, putting y'all under our sponsors. We honestly use them too. Like we use all those sponsors. So
I mean,
that's how much we believe in.
Yesterday, prop bets on my bookie. Right, very happy today. And I was so pissed at myself because in doing my game prep, I totally forgot to go to Underdog Fantasy. So I've got to do that because I did win some money there like a couple weeks ago, but I hit it big on my bookie yesterday. Those prop bets came in big time. Yeah,
no question about it. They come up clutch for you for sure. Let's get to some of the questions here too, because those are really the only two injuries right now to be evaluated. Bruce Arians also said he hasn't made any decision on Antonio Brown and Mike Edwards. So we'll see about that one when it comes around, when their suspension's up in a week. Just Me Pooh Shimmy says, please, Scott and John, can you explain the philosophy behind these incessant first down runs? Don't say coverage when they still throw the ball on second and long and teams aren't playing favorable coverage. Here's my just general thoughts on it, Scott, and then I'll let you offer your thoughts. I don't think it necessarily that it's the worst thing that they run on any first down ever. I thought that in this game, outside of Lenny's 47-yard run, and they had a 21-yarder later in the game, but they didn't necessarily run the ball consistently well in this game. So I think that's important. I wouldn't like to run on a lot of first downs. I think they ran on 9 in the second half of 13. It's not how I would have called it for sure. By itself, these things don't lose you the game, in my opinion, when it's that type of a split. I disagreed with the decision. It's not as egregious in my mind as other things could be from a play caller, unless it happens with regularity. Everything that I kind of analyze about a play call, like if I'm analyzing Byron Leftwich, I say what happens consistently for him game after game after game when he's coached a couple seasons, season after season. What's the story that his play calling tells? Predominantly, especially as time has gone on with Brady, he has been a pretty pass-heavy first-down play caller. You could say he should be more pass-heavy first-down play caller, but especially in the first half in that game, it was a lot of pass-heavy. They had a huge lead. Remember, 10 minutes left in the game. They had 17-point lead. I understand it a little bit. You've run the football better in recent weeks. The Bills have obviously struggled against the run some. Given the situation, I think that it was like, okay, we should be able to run the football a little bit better here. They didn't execute as well as they should have. Maybe you had some looks you liked and the block or two didn't hit, or Lenny missed a hole and it was there and it was a good call. I'm going to wait till I go through the tape and look at it. I don't like it as a philosophy. I don't think it's typically Leftwich's philosophy. So I think the right way to go about it to me is to be critical of him in this second half, but not to be critical of him as a overall play caller from this. Like I thought there were some moments he could have been better, but overall the body of work is good.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, and what I wanted to see the Bucs do in this game was come out and throw the ball on first down, run the ball on second down, use play action a lot more than they did. I think that would have kept the Bills off balance, and we saw some of those run blitzes on first down, especially in the second half, and I thought the Bills did a better job against the Bucs run game as the game went on. It was kind of the opposite for Tampa Bay. They did not do a good job in slowing down the Bills' rushing attack, especially in the second half when they were averaging 9.1 yards per carry. They finished averaging 9.1 yards per carry. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, I guess, less predictability, right? So maybe not more, I would say less predictable runs in those situations. I don't know. It's tempting, right? When you see Leonard rip off a 47-yard touchdown run, and
it's not like this is the worst rushing team in the league anymore. Like they actually can do something. So like
he did have 119 yards. It was a career high for Leonard. So I mean, he he had a pretty good game. So I understand wanting to go back to him. I understand looking at the situation where the Bills did not do a good job stopping the Patriots, did not do a good job stopping the Colts. Both those teams can run the ball way better than Tampa Bay. The Bucs their forte is passing the ball, but I don't have as much issue with the runs when they were called yesterday as I have in other games.
Yeah, I need to look at the plays in the all 22. I started going through the first quarter. That's it. I just got the tape before 2 hours before we went live on here. So I haven't really gotten through much of it yet, but tonight I'll go through much of it. And I'll have a more informed answer probably if you ask me on Wednesday or Thursday on the show. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just we need to be way better at taking the full scale into consideration. We can be critical of Leftwich or critical of a couple Brady throws in the second half or critical of some of these things while we take even the full body of work within a game into consideration, right?
Yeah.
Like, I saw people in the chat in the second half, Brady missed a couple throws and it was kind of like, what is Brady doing? Like he's going to lose this game, all this kind of stuff during the live stream. And I just thinking in my head, like it was kind of like the Packers game last year in the championship was a perfect kind of story of this in the NFC championship, right? Brady was unreal in the first half. Play calling was not very good. He got him out of some tough spots early in the game on third downs, third and longs. And then this game was kind of like too, like first half was great. Second half, there were some struggles for everybody, but Brady included. And I think that like we forget about the good and overweigh the bad sometimes. And we do that with play callers too.
You overreact.
Yeah, like it's
Wait a minute.
Silly
Football
to me.
Fans overreacting, especially on a Monday,
right? But it's especially
what
negative.
What phenomenon
right?
is that?
Yeah, but they especially overreact negatively. Like even to a positive result in a game. Like I think I've just seen today like people like just literally just thrashing Bruce Arians on Twitter. Like and I don't agree with everything Bruce Arians does. A lot, but Bruce Arians is like. Can we look at the sample size? Like this team is the best offense in the NFL. They're averaging over 30 points per game. They're the only team in the league to do that. Like we're at the end of the season. Like we're in the golden era of offense right now.
I wrote about it today, John. This is as good as it gets. Like you better enjoy Tom Brady, right? You better savor Brady, soak him in, because this is as good as it's going to get. Like this is the pinnacle. If you're bitching and complaining about this, I can rewind you to 2014 if you want to go there, right? Like we can do that. We can talk about Josh McCown and Mike Glennon and Josh Freeman, and we can go to past years. I covered them all, man, for the past 26. So my memory's not what it used to be, but I can whip out some media guides and we can go down that road. Yeah. If you want to appreciate Brady and Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich a little bit more than maybe you do. So. It's funny how quickly a Super Bowl can spoil people, but it's kind of maybe where we're at.
But I also think like it's fair to criticize them. It's just not fair to be like this coaching staff sucks. Like that is just like crazy to me. Like how in the world can we look at the body of work and say I'm as critical of Todd Bowles as anybody? But like acting like he shouldn't be a defensive coordinator in the NFL is like just too far. Like you know what I mean?
John,
like
I think you and I were there at Raymond James Stadium on the Super Bowl Sunday, right? When Patrick Mahomes was running for his life from the first whistle, right? I mean, we saw that.
Yeah, like there is good and there is bad, and like there are strengths and there are weaknesses, and people have to understand every team, every year, every fan base wants their play caller tarred and feathered. Like that's
of course.
I mean, it's just everywhere, man. Like I see it with Sean McVay, I see it with Kyle Shanahan. They want him fired. You know what I mean? Like
and a lot of times they want the backup quarterback. I mean, Lord knows I do.
That's true too. You want a little Blaine Gabbert out there.
I'm going to get Blaine Gabbert in a couple of years, but I do want Brady to linger as long as he wants.
They should have had a Blaine Gabbert opportunity in this game, and they didn't.
They should have.
Honestly, why they almost lost, maybe. But
a little pissed about that.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not putting Tony Saylor up here to criticize him. I actually agree with him wholeheartedly. BA is a clown if he cuts AB. That's not going to happen, folks. Listen, I'm going to be honest here. The only people I have heard that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you disagree with me, say so in the chat. The only people clamoring for AB to get released by the Buccaneers are, I think, Pro Football Talk, maybe, because they get really holier than thou sometimes, and the Tampa Bay Times. That's it, okay? And I hate to say it, but like the Times does not carry the same type of clout that it used to, and it was the daily paper, and daily papers ruled major cities. It's just, that's not the case, okay? I mean, our web traffic is as high as it's ever been. We reach millions of Bucs fans per year. millions with an S. Okay. I have not seen on our message boards, on our Twitter feed, anything, people clamoring for the Bucs to part ways with AB over this COVID flap. He got punished by the league 3 games. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. Bruce didn't want to talk about it today when asked. They're not going to cut him. They're not going to. He's going to stay in Tampa Bay, and John Romano can write all the, woe was me columns he wants about it for the Times that people won't read, but that's just a fact. Okay, he's not going anywhere. I'd be shocked if he did. Maybe they have a change of heart if something else comes up, but as of right now, from what I'm hearing inside the building, AB will be playing at Carolina on the 26th. So you can mark that.
I agree with you.
He's getting healthy, and he's going to be back in red and pewter.
My perspective on it is basically that like Antonio Brown had way worse things going on when they signed him. So like, you made this bed, like you gotta let, you know what I mean? And you re-signed him. So like, look, like this is your decision. Like, I don't think, again, if we're talking from a moral perspective, that's a different story. What I think is morally right. It's a different conversation. It's a different story. I definitely think what AB did was completely wrong. What Mike Edwards did was completely wrong. It was, deserving of punishment. They got punished. If you don't trust him moving forward, you knew what the guy you were bringing in. You knew you weren't going to be able to trust him. Right. Like you knew that's what the situation was. Yeah. So,
folks, he's a hired gun. AB's a mercenary. Okay, like if you want a good guy for the community, they got some. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin in that room, 2 of the best high character community guys you could possibly want. Okay, that's not AB. That's not why they signed him. They didn't sign AB to start a foundation here in Tampa and do charity work. They signed him to catch passes and win games. He's a hired gun. That's it.
And I won't be critical if they do get rid of him, to be honest, but I would but they're not going to, and B, logically, like, it's just like, okay, well, you knew what you were signing up for before with him. And now you're, saying you had enough. It just, anyway, regardless of what I think, it's not going to happen. He'll be back eventually with this team. Yeah. We have more good questions here though. Somebody asked if Evans was sick on the sideline. I didn't see this. Evans played like 93% of the snaps. So I don't think Evans was sick. Shaggy mentions Gio being amazing in pass protection. Now, if Giovanni Bernard does miss some time, Scott, he didn't step up and make some good plays in pass protection. I will say he made a good block on Matt Milano in pass protection, then kind of slid off the block, or he thought Brady was in a different spot in the pocket. He's had some weird pass pro reps this year, but do you see a big difference? I mean, if Giovanni Bernard is going to miss some time, to me, it just feels like Leonard Fournette is. I mean, he's played 80+% of the snaps 3 straight games, and I don't see a big difference. Ronald Jones will get a few more snaps, and Keyshawn Vaughn will get like 4 snaps.
I mean, if I'm being real, I had higher expectations for Giovanni Bernard's playing time this year. I think you did too after watching him at training camp.
Yeah.
It's more.
I think the Bucs did.
Yeah.
I think Fournette just took it.
That's more of a credit to Leonard Fournette than it is a knock on Giovanni Bernard. But if I'm being honest, more Lenny, less Gio, fine with me. I think the only way I would miss Gio would be if Leonard got hurt, to be honest.
Yeah. I would like to see Gio play more, to be honest. I still feel like, especially as a pure runner, to be honest. I would say the same thing about Ronald Jones. I would love for the carries to be shared more evenly between them. But the problem is they don't see Gio that way. But I wish Gio would get those opportunities because he can catch. And the problem is with Ronald Jones, you don't want to play him too much because he'll kill you in the passing game. And you don't want to become predictable when he's on the field. By the way, I looked this up today because I saw some people talking about it with Gio out. They think if Jones plays more, the Bucs will become more predictable when he's on the field. Ronald Jones has actually been on the field this year for 71 pass plays and 70 run plays. So he's been basically completely split this year. So has not been any type of indicator. In most games, if you look, he's about 50, like half his snaps are pass plays each game, half of them are runs.
They just don't throw to him.
They don't throw to him. And also, by the way, this is funny. He's pass protected 1 time 0 times since week 8. 0 times. They have not put him into pass protect at all since week 8. 1 time in week 8. I think it's been twice since like week 4, like that he's pass protected. So I'm
not trying to fire shots today. I'm really not. But does that mean essentially that if he's not going to pass protect and Tom Brady's not going to throw the ball to him, that they're playing with 10 players on those given plays?
It doesn't, because he technically, like, his route is used for control of zone players still. Like like if he runs to the flat, he has to pull up a corner.
If he runs a wheel, he's a clear out for somebody.
Exactly right. But you're right. They're probably not going to throw to him either. So here's the way the Giovanni Bernard situation could hurt. If more Ronald Jones and more Keyshawn Vaughn means more drops or more fumbles from the running back position. That's the way that it could hurt. People think I'm joking, but Keyshawn Vaughn touched the ball like 30 times last year, maybe 25 times, and fumbled 3 of them and dropped 5 of them or something.
Not a good
like
ratio, right?
It was really bad. So I'm just saying, like, let's just not say that it's not going to happen either. Here's a question. Oh, go ahead. You want to talk about the subscribing here, right?
Yeah, I do. I want to mention the subscribe. You guys have been fantastic. We have really noticed a huge increase in our YouTube subscriber base. So thank you so much for that. And we're getting a lot more viewers to our videos, all because of you. It's kind of what we're doing. I mean, we're producing good content, but it's really you guys hitting the like button. When you do that, it bumps up our algorithm. When you subscribe, it helps us out. And all we want to do is just attract more Buccaneer fans to fill them with the entertainment and education about the Bucs football team that we all like to cover. And so thank you all.
Hit that like button, subscribe. Hitting that like button when you're in the chat here helps us out a ton. So hit that like button and helps bump our YouTube SEO. We had terrific numbers yesterday in the shows, and we've just appreciated all season long. Y'all have been great. And we've got some awesome stuff in store for draft season. If you're a draft fan and you're in here and you like the all 22 videos we're doing, we're going to have some awesome breakdowns in store for draft season.
Speaking of awesome, it's Monday, and it's like 4:22 right now, so I'm a little behind. We're going to do roll call. So we want to hear where you are watching or listening this Pewter Report podcast, this Victory Monday podcast, where you're at. So John's going to talk some Bucs football, and I'm going to be popping up people's locations. Go for it for the next 2 minutes.
Right. Go ahead and drop your location in the chat. Let us know where you are from around the world. John brings up a good question here. What is the reply to Bills fans who argue they got no calls and post the screenshots of Davis grabbing Diggs? Yeah, this is
wow.
I am going to be honest. I did not see this one coming. Like, out of the game, I did not think of the refs as like a major storyline. There were missed calls on both sides. I noted them throughout the game on the live in-game stream. You know, I said, and I didn't think that the pass interference on Mike Evans was a good call at all. I thought that was just an underthrown ball. And I know he's trying to get a flag there, and he gets one. I just think we need, and it is consistent with how they call it. I just wish they wouldn't call it that way. I don't think it's pass interference. So yeah, I didn't think that was a good call. On the flip side, I thought on that play action where they wheeled Brady out and he threw kind of on the move to Chris Godwin, you know, Chris Godwin gets grabbed around the waist because the defender realizes that he's beat, and I'll post the play, the all 22 shot of it, and everybody can see it. And there's no call. That's a huge chunk play down the field that almost certainly hits because Godwin almost caught it anyway. If that doesn't happen, that infraction. So it gets frustrating from that regard because you see it on both sides. You know, again, I'll go back to Gronkowski down the right sideline. Brady threw him a vertical ball in the fourth quarter. They were down near their own end zone, I think their own 10 or something, and Gronk almost caught it, but I thought he was pretty clearly interfered with, more egregiously than the call that was made in the first half on a 50-50 ball for Gronk. So there's just no consistency in officiating. It's bad across the board, but it's bad for both teams. Lastly, I don't think either Carlton Davis penalty or screenshot that is going around the internet right now. First of all, if you make a determination on what's a penalty and what's not based on a still image, you're an idiot. Like, I'm just saying it. Like, there's just like, you're literally just, you either are an idiot or you're just looking for attention from what you're posting. And this picture happens to look good. I mean, there's one of Carlton Davis, like, his like Diggs jersey is pulling when Carlton Davis, but it's after Diggs full extension pushes him on a fade pattern near the end zone. So like, it was both ways. They no called it. That's the right decision. And same early in the game, you saw one with still with Davis holding on to Diggs' jersey. Well, what it doesn't show you is in the same clip before that, Diggs is full extension shoving away Carlton Davis. So you are getting
selective editing.
Both. Exactly right. Yeah. It's selective. I'm not saying it should have been called offensive pass interference. I'm just saying if just don't call anything in those situations. They didn't. Yeah, that's how they chose to call it, and it was that kind of game. Joey says after listening to – oh, go ahead.
No, you read the comment. I agree.
Joey said after listening to John call the game-winning touchdown, perhaps he can call the Bucs games in the future.
I can go back and listen to that. That's good stuff. I got to watch that.
Hey, it was an exciting play. It was an exciting play. It was an exciting moment in the game, especially it just kind of had the feeling of a game that was going to get away from them. And this actually is a good question for us to kind of transition there. Is, by the way, appreciate everybody putting up their locations. That was fun. It's always pretty cool to see. There's people.
We'll do it again next Monday. Roll call.
Yeah, for sure. But Scott, I have no clue what to think of this Bucs team. Like, they are so inconsistent. In every game that they play, they leave points on the field. They leave opportunities on the field. But they are 10-3, and this is a year of flawed teams. I don't know if they're as good as the Packers. We're going to talk about them in the state of the NFC right now. One thing I will say about them is I think that this game has shown me that, like, even when they like go through a slumping couple quarters or missed opportunities, they don't let things unravel on them, and they keep it together, and they find ways to win football games. Aaron said it after the game, like, our guys know how to win. Sometimes that can be thrown around as a cliche, but I definitely think there's something to it. And this team's come a long way from games like they had last year where they were close in a lot of games, the Rams game and even the Saints game beginning of the year, the Bears game, the Rams game, the Chiefs game, and they couldn't win those games. And they were kind of like anybody's game at the end of it, and they couldn't win those games. And this one, I felt like this was a reminder to me that this team has matured to the point where, like, they can find ways to win games even if they don't play their best.
Speaking of reminder, Vortex, bad officiating arguably cost us the Saints game. And Brian Shaw, refs definitely cost the Bucs the Saints game. Matter of fact, this is kind of like a running theme dating back to 2019, I think. The Bucs Saints games are some of the most horribly officiated games against Tampa Bay and for the Saints. This is not just the 3 personal foul Devin White incident that occurred this past game. If you type in 2-point conversion like Bucs Saints for my post-game column, I've written about how the officiating is just awful in these games. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen on Sunday. I'm expecting the Bucs to win, right? I mean, this is not the Saints team that has won the NFC South the last 4 years now. It's the Bucs' turn. They're going to win the NFC South. I think they're going to do it Sunday by beating the Saints. But how much help are the refs going to give New Orleans in the process, right? That's what I want to know, because these games, for whatever reason, have just been so unfairly officiated. And I'm going to, I think that's something we need to kind of ask Bruce Arians this week is out of all of the games the Buccaneers play over the past, almost 3 years that Bruce has been here, those Saints games stick out like a sore thumb against the Buccaneers.
And it's funny because, this goes to what we're saying, and I don't think you're trying to say that it's, conspiratorial or anything like that. It's just very random. Look at the Saints.
That out, John. I'm not ruling that out.
Look at the Saints in the playoffs, though, against the Rams. I mean, that's the most egregious call of the last decade, and screwed them out of what I believe. Even the most diehard Bucs fan could probably say that the Saints should have won that game against the Rams, and probably would have won the Super Bowl against the Patriots that year. And so, And that officiating is just.
Didn't you have the next year in New Orleans the Vikings game where there was the push off?
The push off.
Kyle Rudolph,
right? Yeah, Kyle Rudolph. Yeah, that was even less egregious, but still obvious in my opinion. So the Saints have been screwed too. So it just. The Bucs going into this game, this is where it really gets crazy for me, is people love to say this, and there's just no validity to it at all. But people love to say, oh, the NFL and Brady. First of all, how did the NFL that also gets accused of screwing Brady over with Deflategate and suspending him 4 games when there was no evidence that he should be suspended just to screw him over and send a message? How are they also on Brady's side and trying to give him calls and crucial that logic is just totally lost on me. But second, this is a team in the Bucs that are they have benefited from less penalties going into that game than any other team in the NFL. They were 32nd in penalties that they benefited from this season, 31st in penalty yards that they benefited from, and now they're 31st in both, I believe, coming out of this game. So there was going to be regression to the mean, whether it happened all at one game or another game. I would argue it didn't even happen that egregiously in this game. But eventually you're going to get that in the NFL. It wasn't going to keep going that way, as I indicated around midseason a couple times in a couple shows. But there's just no logic to the arguments against the officiating thing with the Bucs.
I agree. There is logic to what Dara O'Brien did, which was give us a great super chat. We appreciate that. People hate success. Brady is better than any franchise, and hopefully into another Super Bowl this year. It's always a good sign when other fans don't like you. That's true. And as I wrote about him in my SR's Fab 5, and I don't have the column pulled up, otherwise I'd give you the exact statistics, but Brady's got something like 240 regular season wins. I think it's 274 when you add in the postseason success he's had. And I think the Bucs franchise is 288 total wins as a franchise.
Yeah.
Okay. Tom Brady has almost won as many games between his little time in Tampa and the 20 years in New England as the entire Bucs franchise have in over 4 decades of football.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's
crazy.
stunning.
It's nuts. But a couple good comments. John asks, another good question. Would you say the Packers and Cardinals have better coaching staffs than the Bucs? And this is where it gets tricky because every scheme is different and has different strengths and weaknesses. If I've seen people that I really trust, I think Matt LaFleur is an incredible play caller.
Yeah.
I've seen people that I really trust criticize the Packers offense at times, for not having enough variance to what they do and not having and falling in love with the same things. And
Also,
I don't
ask
know.
Packer fans about their defensive coordinator right now, Joe Barry.
Yeah,
I think you'll get a mixed response between LaFleur and Barry on that same coaching staff.
Depending on the day with Packers fans and and media analysts too, on a lot of this stuff. I think that there's just mixed feelings. Same with Kingsbury. I mean, this year it's been good so far, but before this, he got tons of criticism. He never moved DeAndre Hopkins around. He kept him in the same spot. They threw a million wide receiver screens every game, and they didn't threaten teams with enough concepts. Everything they had like 4 plays, and they just made them all look different. And they still don't have many plays, and they also when they lose. That's the criticism. Like they only had this many plays. They make them look different because they line up in a million different formations. But the Cardinals only have like a few handful of concepts that they use. So it's everybody can get exposed for a game or a period of time or a half or something like that. Every play call in the league. I mean, Andy Reid's out here. We're in week 15 and he's trying to find his way, man. The only team he can score on is the Raiders. Like that's it. And he's one of the greatest of all time. So when I say that this thing is hard to do for consistently year after year, that's where I think you have to look at Arians and give him more respect. I mean, his system has wherever he's gone, although there are drawbacks to it, and we've talked about it when Brady was coming in, sacks and the turnovers that his system can tend to lend itself to, which Brady is obviously dramatically diminished with his play, which is why I said it might not be the quarterback people think Arians wants, but it's the quarterback he needs when they signed Brady. It was the perfect marriage in my mind in that way. That is the negatives, but the positives are if you look at Bruce Arians' offenses, wherever he's been, Pittsburgh or Arizona or Indianapolis when he was there, and now Tampa Bay, they've all gotten better. They've all put up points. They've all gotten yards. That's a huge part of it. When you can do that consistently, that's a big deal.
Usually that's what teams want when they are hiring an offensive coordinator, right? That's like, what can you do to boost our scoring, right? Because usually when you score more points, you win. I mean, it's not always the case, but it kind of helps. What also helps is Alien Binary with the 100 Swedish kroner super chat.
Whoa.
So we appreciate that. Yes.
Did you look that up? I would not have known.
Of course I looked that up. I don't know what the SEK means, John. Shit, man.
I still don't know what that is.
Some currency expert? Absolutely not, man. I know a little bit about Buccaneer football, and that's about it, man.
That rolled right off your tongue. I was surprised there.
I mean, you got to fake it till you make it sometimes. But yes, we do appreciate that. And it was so fun seeing all of the Floridians in our roll call today, all of the people around the country, including my hometown, Overland Park, Kansas, Buccaneer Bruce. That was fun to see. Appreciate you always being in there. And also around the world, Canada, Australia, Sweden, Scotland, England. So, and sorry for you. I think Brazil was in there too. There's a lot of people around the globe watching the Peter Report podcast, and we thank all of you.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I want to just throw out here too, and Scott, you could probably back me up on this, but if anybody in the chat that's watching this show today typically is spends a lot of time on our message boards on PeterReport.com and just is pretty active on there and has been for a while and kind of knows the lay of the land on there. If you could just shoot me an email at Jon@PeterReport.com, shoot me an email and let me know if you're interested in maybe doing some moderation over there, things like that. Because I'd love to chat with you about that and see if there are people who are active on the Peter Report message boards at all. To definitely hit me up, Jon@PeterReport.com. That would be a conversation I'd love to have with
Keith, Wamego, Kansas. I'm very familiar with that. I'm wearing my K-State shirt today, so that's right around the corner from Manhattan.
Nice. That's great. There's a couple of good questions I wanted to get to in the chat, but first, Scott, we gotta take a second to remind people about Spotify Green Room because this is getting the time of the year where playoffs are around the corner, and it's a great place to go. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be about sports. If you're into music, sports, culture, live, any of it, You can download Spotify Green Room on the App Store, get it on Google Play, follow Pewter Report on there, and you can get notified when we go live on there as well. But lots of other great places where chat rooms that you can jump into. You can take the mic, you can ask questions. I'm a big NBA fan, so sometimes I love when they do the NBA ones in there, and I can go in and I can ask questions or take the mic and give my thoughts as well. So definitely check out Spotify Green Room. You can talk music, sports, and culture live on there. Get it on Google Play or download it on the App Store as well. Scott, there were a couple good questions in here, and one of them related to Leftwich's future. Huzo asked, do we think Leftwich is gone next season? He probably makes a good head coach one day, but for his sake, I hope he doesn't bolt for the Jags after Urban is toast. This is interesting. Like the whole thing with Leftwich is going to be interesting, and with Bowles. Yeah. But the Jaguars, obviously, you know, he played there, so there's the connection there in some ways. But Trevor Lawrence, you know, that's a prospect that a lot of people would want to work with and want to get their hands on and kind of step into a situation like that. At the same time, Jacksonville's kind of a train wreck. I do think Urban's going to get fired. He's a clown.
Yeah,
but
I do too.
I wonder what the situation, like, how much interest do you think Leftwich legitimately gets, and how do you think the league is going to see him? I mean, the Bucs are near the top of the league at the end of the season. They faced the Panthers twice and the Jets once to finish the season. So I think their rank is probably going to be pretty good. Will they be able to distinguish him from Brady and from Arians, or is he too close to too many, you know, elites, you know, long-time elites in the NFL to
That's a great
be
question.
considered head coach?
I love the way you phrased that, because there's a lot of layers to this. I'll just kind of be real succinct in this. The Buccaneers themselves, and they're the closest to the action, they know that Bruce Arians is not going to coach forever, right? If something were to happen to Bruce today, and let's hope that's not the case, let's hope Bruce, knocking on wood, retires on his own volition several years from now with several Super Bowls in hand, right? But when that day comes, the person on the staff right now that the Buccaneers would want to assume the head coaching duties and be that heir apparent is Todd Bowles. It's not Byron Leftwich.
Yeah. I mean, head coach, it's a lot more responsibility than just whether you're a good coordinator or not.
So. Correct. So I'm just saying that's the choice here. Bruce Arians would love to see Byron get a head coaching job, right? He thinks the world of him. And listen, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians are lockstep in giving Byron the praise for the play calling duties, right? This is not 2019 where Byron was getting his feet wet, working with Jameis Winston. This is year 3 now where he is calling the shots, and Bruce is more hands off than ever, and that's by design, folks. I mean, he's letting Byron run the show, and obviously he's very happy, as John points out. I mean, this is a Super Bowl champion team that was top 3 scoring last year and is the number 1 scoring team this year. So what's there not to like? Having said that, and I'm not making a comparison here, other than just pointing out the fact that the guy that's kind of been promoted by the media so heavily, beating everybody over the head with it on Twitter and NFL Network and whatever, is Eric Bieniemy. He has not gotten a head coaching job for a reason. I don't know what that reason is, okay? But given the Chiefs' success, if Eric Bieniemy was all that, and listen, there have been some really bad coaching hires, really bad. Urban Meyer's one of them, okay? You can do a lot worse than Eric Bieniemy, but there's something about Bieniemy in NFL circles that is not getting this guy the interviews, okay? And
is there a tie to Leftwich in that, or?
I'm just saying Byron Leftwich did not get any play last year whatsoever. And he deserved it.
That was only his second year as a coordinator.
Correct.
To be fair.
It's going to be interesting to see this year how much play Byron Leftwich gets. He's a very likable guy. He's got a very good personality. He's very charismatic. He is not very good with the media in terms of giving us meaningful answers. I'm just being honest.
He's as good as he wants to be.
He's as good as he wants to be. Sometimes you ask the question, and not you, but we ask the question, and the answer that we're given leaves us scratching our heads. It just doesn't.
He's intentionally, he doesn't try to shed any light on things. That's for sure.
No,
he's very different from Arians in that way.
Right. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I don't think he's gone. I think he's back. I think he's back. There probably will be a worse hire next coaching cycle than he would be, but
correct.
It's also impossible to say. There's so many traits to being a head coach that you'll never see as an offensive coordinator. You just never will. So there's no way for us to know whether it'll be good or not. So that I know you didn't ask that, I'm just saying like that plays a part
Yeah.
of the thing. I don't even go out on a limb and guess anymore because it's just there's no point in it at all.
Yeah. And listen, you're right. The thing is I think the number one thing is when you're hiring a head coach and you're an owner, like the first question out of your mouth better be who's going to be on your staff, because head coaches don't win games. Head coaches don't turn around franchises. It's the staff. It wasn't just Tony Dungy, folks. It was Monty Kiffin. It was Rod Marinelli. It was Lovie Smith. It was Herm Edwards, right? I mean, it was Clyde Christensen. You're talking about an amazing staff. I mean, the three best staffs in Tampa since I've covered this team, without question. Tony Dungy's staff, John Gruden's staff, and Bruce Arians' staff. Okay.
Right.
There have been some fantastic coaches on some really bad staffs before, right? PJ Fleck was the wide receivers coach under Greg Schiano. He's the head coach at University of Minnesota. One of the best position coaches I've ever seen in my life. Problem is the Bucs only had one of them. Schiano only had one of those guys. He needed about 10 more on other positions. And it was so deficient. So I think head coaches are only as good as their staffs.
Yeah.
And I don't know who Leftwich would bring to the table.
Right. It would be hard because this whole group's been with Arians for forever. And so Leftwich may want to ride this thing out and see, how go until Arians retires. And then we'll see. I don't know. It's worth asking. It's a good question. It's just
very good question.
Hard to know the answer right now at this point in time. You know what else is a good question? What should you get people in your life that you love for Christmas gifts? Everybody's asking it right now. And I'm telling you the answer can be found at livinggolflife.com. You can check out especially if you know somebody who loves golf or you love golf and you want to ask for this for a present, you can check out their polos, super comfy. Their hats are unbelievable. They've got a bunch of different new products coming out as well. They've got glasses, koozies, all kinds of stuff. You can check out their products at livinggolflife.com. You can follow them on Instagram at livinggolflife on Instagram. You saw people in the chat. We don't lead you astray with these things. Living Golf Life, they're the real deal. Matt wears them. I wear them. I mean, I'm telling you, we represent because it's really good products. And so great opportunity to check out livinggolflife.com and support another sponsor of pewterreport.com if you or somebody you know are looking for some gifts this Christmas season. Yep. Scott, we got a bunch of good questions in the chat, so it has turned into mostly questions here, but I want to shift gears a little bit and just ask you a question. Yeah, we're at the point in the season and the point in this show, especially where we've got to start looking at the rest of the NFC, right? The playoffs are in hand. The NFC South is whatever happens next week or whenever it happens, as Aaron said. I like that answer by Aaron, by the way. They asked somebody who was like, we're going to clinch eventually. It don't matter, right?
The NFC South this year.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it.
No doubt about it.
It's ours.
So I just wonder, looking at that and looking at the way that I feel like the Bucs should finish the season, where does this team rank right now in the NFC? Are they the best team in the NFC? I feel like I've watched a lot of the other four best teams in the NFC and kind of have a good idea of where they're all at, and just wondering what you think as we get ready for, I guess we got to finish off. We got Rams, Cardinals tonight, although the Rams are without a lot of people. Yeah,
it's interesting. Just in case you're at work or just tuning in, the Rams are going to be without Havenstein, their right tackle, Henderson, their starting running back, Ramsey, their top flight Pro Bowl corner, and Higbee, their tight end. So there's four big-time starters that are out on the COVID list that will not be in tonight's game against the Cardinals. And really, the Rams need this game because the Cardinals have already beat them this year. And so I think that the Cardinals are kind of in cruise control if they win this game in their division. It's really tough, John, because I think in a vacuum, I think individually the Buccaneers are as good as any team in the NFC. Okay, I think the Buccaneers can beat the Packers. They did it twice last year. Even up in Green Bay, I think they can do it. I don't think the Rams are a good matchup. Now, maybe without having Robert Woods, I just think that the Rams have dominated the Buccaneers. The Bucs pass rush has not been able to get home against either Jared Goff or Matthew Stafford. Now, the Stafford we're seeing has kind of regressed to that Lions Stafford. We'll see how he plays tonight. But I don't like the trench battle, the trench matchup between the Rams and the Bucs. I think that's really been the key in the Rams' back-to-back wins in 2020 and 2021. I'm curious about the Cardinals matchup with the Buccaneers for one big reason. If you remember 2019, Kyler Murray's rookie season, the Bucs won a nail-biter against the Cardinals. Here is a much different, younger Cardinals team than the one that's asserted itself. But that game came down to the wire. Jamel Dean got an interception in that game at Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah.
But John, this team's struggled against running quarterbacks. And I don't mean scrambling quarterbacks. I mean running quarterbacks. Designed quarterback run game. We saw that last night with Josh Allen running for 100 yards and a touchdown. And that was a big deal. We saw that back in Philadelphia, as you mentioned, with Jalen Hurts, especially in the red zone with a couple of touchdowns. We're going to see it this Sunday with Taysom Hill. And I asked Bruce Arians that question today. Josh Allen, it's got Sean Payton and Taysom Hill, I'm sure, salivating a little bit, seeing what they could do and running a certain way. And John, I'll let you talk about that in a second about why that run game was so successful. But when you have Kyler Murray, and he's different. He's not a big 240-pound bulldozer like a Taysom Hill or Josh Allen is. He's more of that Jalen Hurts type, but even quicker and faster. That's what scares me about a potential Cardinals-Bucs matchup. So I think the Bucs, to answer your question, I think they're the best team, but I don't necessarily like them playing in Arizona in a playoff game, maybe the NFC Championship game. I don't like them playing at LA in an NFC Championship game. I like the game here, but I think that the Rams or the Cardinals could be the Bucs' kryptonite.
One interesting thing to note is that if the Cardinals beat the Rams tonight, it will move the Cardinals. Right now, the Cardinals have a 97% chance to win the division already. So they already have this thing pretty comfortable. That will basically lock them in, I think, for the NFC West. I mean, it would be impossible for them to lose the division, I think, if they win tonight. So one thing that will mean is that the Cardinals will likely get the 1 seed, or will be in the conversation for the 1 seed at least. They'll have a pretty good advantage for it. But one thing that it'll mean, Scott, is that it will be unlikely for the Bucs to play the Rams in the first round unless the Bucs fall to the 4 seed, which would probably require some collapsing, because even if they have the same record as the Cowboys and have one more loss, they have the tiebreaker. So they would basically have to lose 2 more games the rest of the way, which would be disastrous, obviously. But that would be in a 4 seed. The Rams seem destined to be the 5 seed right now, although with some of their injuries, the 49ers, I guess, could conceivably catch them. But most likely, it looks like the Rams are going to be the 5 seed, and the Bucs aren't going to be the 4 seed. They might be 3, 2, or 1. So they probably avoid the Rams in the first round. And the Rams could get the Packers in the first round, or could get Dallas in the first round, or something like that, which would be ideal for the Bucs. So whether they finish 1 or 3, if they can finish somewhere in that range, that might be good for them. And then, if you're 3, you're playing what wait, am I thinking of this right? 4 and am I thinking of this right for the playoffs? 2 plays 7, right? Yeah, 2 plays 7.
Yes, 2 plays
3
7.
plays 6. So 6 would be San Francisco right now. So Tampa Bay could be headed right now they're 3, right? And I believe in the NFC, is that correct? They're behind the Packers still. So if they're 3, then right now they're slated to play San Francisco. I'm just going to be honest. San Francisco is not nearly as talented as the Bucs, but because they're so unique, I hate the matchup. I hate it. I'm not saying San Francisco's going to win. I just hate the matchup. Cal Shanahan is just a terrific play caller and designer, and you can't prep for them by watching a lot of other teams. You can prep for some of the things they do on offense, but they have some unique pieces, and they thrive in the short passing game. They thrive at creating yards after catch. They thrive in the kind of opportunities that Todd Bowles' defense gives you. They don't hold onto the ball that long, all those things. So I hate that matchup. I hope that San Francisco falls off, or they end up, or the Bucs end up, as a 2 seed and playing the Vikings, or somebody like that, in that. So you look at some of those things, but overall, I mean, you're gonna have to beat a great team. Obviously, Dallas is really good as well, but Dak is struggling lately. So I'd feel better about that matchup maybe than some other ones. But the Packers, I think, are the best team in the NFC right now. I think they've played well enough to deserve being dubbed that. But the Cardinals are certainly good as well. I want to see what the Cardinals look like as they get kind of Kyler back. And this, I was hoping tonight would be a measuring stick game. Now it feels like the Rams are going to be pretty at a disadvantage in this game. And so
I hope
we'll see.
Because I just laid some money on the Cardinals big time on my book.
Well, the Cardinals also haven't done it, Scott. We talk about proving you can win in those big moments. The Cardinals haven't done that. They haven't had that kind of success. So I just don't know what to make of them yet. Like, I think it's different when you get in the playoffs. I think the stage is different. It can be overrated how different it is, but it matters. And those guys haven't really been there. Kingsbury and Kyler haven't really been there and done that. So, it's fair to question them when it comes to guys like Rodgers and Brady, they're going up against. And you could say the same thing for Dow. I mean, obviously McCarthy's been there, but you could say it for Dallas and Dak in some ways too, in terms of being on that stage. So there are some questions there that there aren't with the other guys, and with guys like Brady and Rodgers, which is why I think we could be headed for a Bucs Packers repeat in the NFC Championship game. If I had to bet today, I would say that. Yeah, I'd say that's where we're headed probably.
Yeah, and I think from a matchup standpoint, and I'm with you, John. It's crazy, right? To say I'm with you. I don't disagree that I think you can make a strong case that the Packers or the Buccaneers, either one of those, are the best team in the NFC right now. I like the Bucs matchup against the Packers better than I do the Cardinals, and we'll see how they look tonight, and even better than the Rams, just because I think that the Buccaneers pass rush can affect Aaron Rodgers, because I've seen it happen twice. I have not seen the Buccaneers affect either Jared Goff or Matthew Stafford in that soft zone coverage that Todd Bowles likes to play. Sean McVay eats that up. Right?
Yeah,
they move the ball, they put up points, they welcome that. So that's those NFC West teams, and even like you said, the 49ers, they scare me more than Dallas does. They scare me more than the Packers do. So whoever comes out of the West, I think that's going to be a trickier matchup for the Buccaneers in the postseason.
Yeah. Obviously, if you can get to the 2 seed, the 7 seed in the NFC right now, I don't even know who is it right now. I can look, but I don't even know who it is.
It was
right
Washington.
It changes every week,
but they lost. So
they lost again. So it's
Washington
still. It's still Washington. Now, would you hate that matchup again? Washington, Taylor Heineke's put it to these guys twice.
Yeah, for whatever reason, yes. Would not.
I can't believe that it would happen again. Yeah. Plus, he's hurt right now. But
I think Tom Brady,
Washington.
If the Bucs lost to the Fighting Heinekes, I think that he might retire after. He might just say, "Screw it." Listen, Tampa, I helped you enough. For whatever reason, we're losing to the WFT.
That's right.
WTF, man.
It's Vikings, Eagles, Falcons.
Yeah,
are 6 and 7, and the Saints are 6 and 7. If the Saints can beat the Bucs next week, they could be in, depending on what happens in these other games right now. That could be a matchup. The whole playoff picture right now in the NFC is totally nuts. Let's just look at the Saints schedule, because I know some people, they're not out of it. If they can beat the Bucs, they have the Dolphins, the Panthers, and the Falcons left. Yeah. I mean, they could get in.
Yeah, they could.
But Bucs got to take care of business. We'll talk about that more on Wednesday. That's going to be a big show Wednesday. Yeah. This is low-key a big game, Scott. I don't care how many players the Saints have lost, and they're getting some people back too. Kamara's back.
They beat the Bucs with Trevor Siemian. Right?
They're going to challenge the Bucs. I think the Bucs win their last 3 games with ease. I think this game is going to be a dogfight next week.
It is.
I really believe it's going to be a dogfight. I know it doesn't make sense on paper, but I think it's going to be a dogfight. Long Lost Glazer, we appreciate this $10 super chat so much. This is great. Chats. Great job yesterday. Just like the Bucs, the PR staff is rounding out into playoff form. Game day broadcast getting crisper. Appreciate the coverage and interactive forum you're providing the fans. Yep, Paul had some connection difficulties at the beginning of the game. I don't know if we were that crisp, but as the game went on, we were more and more crisp for sure. So we appreciate that, Long Lost Glazer. This is it's been a lot of fun for sure. So tomorrow will be off the podcast, but look for all 22 stuff coming your way. Hopefully, if I can get myself together and keep myself awake tonight, even. That's right.
Have a Celsius or 2.
I'm almost done with this one. I'll have some all 22 stuff coming. Paul will have some all 22 stuff coming. So keep your eyes on the YouTube channel. Subscribe Pewter Report TV if you haven't already. Hit the like button on our videos as well. Helps bump up our YouTube SEO. If those numbers keep staying up and picking up, on all those shows that we do, we'll keep prioritizing and producing all 22 videos for y'all, even if they're just quick hitters, a couple minutes, on the Bucs overtime drive, things like that in this game. That are noteworthy, we'll do that as much as we can for y'all. So show those videos some love as well. Hopefully one up tonight. I'd love to. Some stuff like that we've got going on in the works.
Chats. We love super chats that are paid in US American dollars. We love Swedish kroner. We love rubles.
All of it.
We love all of the currencies from around the world. But we love the dollar a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. And so we appreciate those super chats a lot, and those help us with. I got this sound. You see this? I got this like sound what's it called? Dampener, sound dampener board.
Yes.
Britt got it for me for Christmas, so
That's awesome.
have that, and that helped out the quality of the show last week or yesterday, I think, a good bit as well. So
I'm
we'll
going to be getting a
invest
new
in stuff like
laptop
that.
because mine's about to crap out, and I'll have a better
Scott's
camera
going to
and
finally be
everything, so.
compatible with the good quality camera that you have that sees
I'm an old
everything in
man with
HD.
an old laptop.
That's right. So we use that stuff that y'all send us, the super chat. So we appreciate those a lot. Wednesday, we'll be back on the show 4 p.m. Scott and I will have the preview for the Bucs upcoming game against the Saints. Appreciate that, Joel. I've actually forgot about.
I'm gonna go back and watch this right now. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
But no, I appreciate that. It was a pretty fun moment in the game for sure, especially considering how things were trending. So definitely appreciate y'all jumping in. This has been great stuff, and we'll see y'all on Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.